Here's a personal confession. A couple years ago, my daughter comes to me and my partner with an awkward question. And this, of course, wasn't even a debate for us. We didn't want more kids. We couldn't afford more kids. But how do we explain this to a 3-year-old? I mean, she was 3 then. And then our solution was really simple. Our solution is called UMA. And it turns out that by US standards, my family is an exception because the new norm is that families have pets instead of kids.
People treat their cats and dogs more like members of the family.
Americans are spending more and more on their pets. The number of dogs and cats could increase faster than the human population.
This is the percentage of US households with kids, and this is the percentage of US households with pets. My golden retriever-filled TikTok feed and the Pet the Damn Dog subreddits, these are not some new viral trend. People love pets more than kids. Pets, unlike kids, also make up for some great internet content.
Right?
At least most of us are not getting pets or kids to make them social media famous, but for young adults at an age to reproduce, kids are becoming the unpopular choice. 30% of Gen Zs don't intend to multiply, which is a surprising improvement over the 50% of millennials who also refuse to have kids and have honestly succeeded, just judging by how old millennials are already. There are some deep humanity and society implications if people start thinking of their pets as kids, and there's a serious question of how far this is going to get us as humans. And we're going to touch on this, but what we're here for, what our business-focused channel mostly cares about is this industry, this shift that has sparked one of the fastest growing industries in the world, that makes real bank on pet care, pet insurance, pet mental care, pet cloning. Kids need and ask for things like for their development, for their brain to become smart adults that can still have jobs when ChatGPT takes over. So the toy company just needs to slap some character on that toy and us adults end up buying those things. But pets don't really ask you to buy anything from them. So companies that make money on this have figured out ways to create these needs that don't exist. They put us on these guilt trips about what our pets deserve or how ignorant we are because we're not getting them psychological help. And the revenue that these companies are making is growing like crazy. And it's not revenue that's just based on some new innovation or some new technology. It's just some insane and sometimes pretty dark marketing tactics. So this is Company Forensics on the business of replacing children with pets. Now, these are the number of Google searches for a vet in the US over the last 15 years. And these are the searches for pediatricians. Now, that's, of course, not an apples to apples comparison, but it's critical because of how crucial Google is to find business and how complicated it is to get your business to rank in those results. SEO is a mess. We've made a couple of videos about it. There's a lot of misinformation online, but today's sponsor has made it their mission to make this simple. Ahrefs is a true industry standard for SEO, and they've made it easy for non-tech experts to understand how to improve their website and to make it rank on Google. You can run a site audit for free and get this health score, which helps you determine what's not working so you can actually work on fixing it yourself or send that to your development team. Most SEO professionals are already familiar with Ahrefs and their webmaster tools. And at Slidebean, we've actually been using Ahrefs for over 5 years now, and it's how we've managed to rank first on Google for the keywords that matter to our pitch deck consulting business. We track ranking per keyword, we track competitors, content gap opportunities, and we discover new keywords to focus our content around. And I really think that they've built this solid platform, and you've probably already seen their UI in one of the videos that we've created about SEO. So all you need to do is visit ahrefs.com/AWT and run a free site audit on your website. Thanks again to the Ahrefs team for sponsoring today's video. Okay, let's get back to puppies. Just kidding, really, we're going to talk about kids first. This is a population pyramid, and just by looking at it, you can figure out that it belongs to a developed country. What this chart tells us in a pretty intuitive visual is that people live longer lives thanks to access to better healthcare, and that there are fewer births in these countries. People are choosing to have fewer kids. In a developing country, you'll see mostly the exact opposite. A lot of young people and fewer elders. And why is that? Well, there's of course sex education, not just the Netflix series.
This is great.
There's awareness and access to contraceptives. There's a smaller percentage of unplanned pregnancies and even often access to abortion. There's also more women in the workforce who delay starting a family or who just choose to have fewer children to continue and not give up on their careers. There's limited space because of urbanization. You can't fit all these kids in a New York apartment.
Is that a toilet in your kitchen?
Or a stove in your bathroom?
But one of these stands out above the rest, and it's money. In the US, raising a child to their 18th birthday will cost a family on average $250,000. And that certainly does not account for college. That's $14,000 a year. It's money that fewer and fewer millennials or Gen Zs have and or are feeling less inclined to spending. We actually made a whole video about this generational debacle, so you should check that out. As a parent myself, there was really a quality of living question when Eva came with that sign. There's a quality of life that we wanted and that we wouldn't be able to have if we had 2 kids instead of a kid and a dog. Is it selfish? Maybe. The Pope said it was. The Pope said it was selfish.
Sì, cani e gatti occupano il posto dei figli. Oggi anche con l'orfandà c'è un certo egoismo.
But I have to disagree. There are some very deep psychological reasons behind this. On adults who already have kids, cost and money is the first reason. But soon after that, you have other factors like fear of the world and economic stability, impact of climate change, politics, the lack of free time. And it's even more concerning for adults who don't want kids at all. According to the survey, wanting more personal time was the first reason on adults with no kids. But this, of course, connects directly to the fact that we just have to work more now to just pay the bills. In this video I told you about generations, we found out how younger generations have to work more hours, they often have multiple jobs, and they've managed to accumulate less wealth than all the previous generations. And so it's easy to just call this selfish for not wanting more kids. Without zooming out and looking at these really profound reasons, how can we think of raising another human being when we just saw how much our parents struggled to raise us? How can we think of feeding another mouth when we haven't found footing in just being adults ourselves? Where do we get an extra $14,000 a year? Over $1,000 a month when we're struggling to pay our own bills. On the other hand, having a dog in the US, and this is already expensive by most standards, having a dog in the US costs just $2,000 a year. If you're outside of the US, again, this might sound really expensive, but these pets, they're not the pets that we grew up with. Now, imagine this quintessential family of the 50s. 2 parents, 2 kids, and of course, a faithful dog named Fido. But Fido's life was very different back then. He was there for companionship, yes. He was considered a member of the family, sure. But he rarely visited the vet. He would eat table scraps. He had, at the very least, the job of guarding the house when the family was away. And then fast forward to today, and Fido is now maybe called Fifi. They have a wardrobe, attend daycare while their parents are at work. God forbid you leave your dog home alone. They have an Instagram account and even go to doggy spas. They might stay in a dog resort while their parents are traveling. Now, the dog food aisle at Whole Foods really reflects this dramatic shift. You have that grain-free or that gluten-free dog food option, breed-specific formulas, gourmet organic meals. And now that subscriptions are the norm, we actually made a whole video about why subscriptions are the norm. You can even get like a BarkBox subscription with toys and treats. This is for real. And so are these solo pet owners and these DINKs, DINKs by the way stands for double income, no kids couples. Great acronym. Are these guys just spending what they would have spent on their kids, just moving that money and putting on their pet? Hold that thought, because it doesn't stop there. There's healthcare too. Vet care in the 50s was pretty rudimentary compared to today's standards, and dogs probably didn't live as long. Now, learning from human healthcare advancements today, you have a lot more tech to treat an animal in case they get sick. You have chemotherapy, you have MRIs, you have hip replacements, you have cataract surgeries. Treating cancer for a dog can cost in the US upwards of $10,000. And so here's late-stage capitalism stepping in. Of course, we now have dog insurance. To be fair, we've had dog insurance for a while. It was actually the Swedish who invented dog insurance back in 1890, but it became popular in the US after 1980, thanks in part to Lassie. But last year, Americans spent $2 billion on pet insurance premiums. That's 70 times what Americans were spending at the beginning of the century. A lot more people are getting insurance for their pets. The premiums are rising, but that's not stopping anyone. A lot more people are getting insurance for their animals. And the logic, I have to say, the logic makes sense. We love our pets more. They're more important members of the family. If they get sick, the decision to treat your pet or not used to be a money decision. But there was always that option of sending them to a farm upstate. With insurance, we can mostly guarantee that everything that can be done to help them is being done, almost regardless of the cost. Look, I grew up in Costa Rica. When my first dog got pregnant, she had puppies at home in her bed in our laundry room. But even for me today, that's completely unthinkable. We don't want Uma to have puppies. And if she ever got pregnant, we'd be at the vet every week, probably. As much as pet insurance may look exaggerated, I can't argue with the logic. The pain of having to put down a dog is terrible, but that's also a topic that we have to touch on, because that's still an option. We have to talk about that. After all, pets are animals, and animals don't have human rights. You can argue all you want about animal rights, but when you're facing a $10,000 cancer treatment for a dog that you can't afford and that you're not even sure it's gonna help, euthanasia is a sad but real option even vets and animal activists consider valid. And that's, of course, not the case for humans. Everything that can be done to save a human life must be done. Except maybe in the US, if you don't have money to afford the hospital bills. But I'm not gonna open that can of worms today. You own pets. They're yours forever. They don't leave for college. They don't disappoint you when they make poor decisions. 3 months into their life, they're pretty self-sufficient and don't demand that much attention. There's really no point in comparing what it is to raise a child versus raising a dog or a pet. But what we can compare is how they make us feel. We humans long for companionship, and you can make a solid argument that if what you want is someone happy to see you when you get home, or someone to hug you if you're feeling lonely, a pet is much lower maintenance than a partner, and most definitely than a kid. Research proves that pets can help reduce stress. It's no coincidence. More and more doctors are recommending service animals to help humans with their emotional state. I don't expect doctors to start recommending service kids to people, or just having kids at all. I mean, companionship is really the wrong reason to have kids, of course, and you end up having kids for a different reason. But I always wanted kids. I always wanted kids because I felt, this is gonna sound weird, but I always felt my genes were worth another generation. I wanted kids because of legacy. I really want to impact people's lives. I enjoy doing that, and what better way to do that than giving all your love and all your effort to raising another human being? I could bring that argument to the Pope, and that would be kind of selfish, wouldn't it? But we do it despite the risk. We do it despite the risk of messing up, despite the cost and the fear and the uncertainty, despite how much our dink lives would have to change. So I absolutely understand how that motivation is easily not enough for someone else to do it themselves, especially if they aren't in a comfortable position like the one I currently have. The problem here is that it's very easy to just take all this, to skew everything that I've just said, to take all of these psychological and philosophical dilemmas about legacy, about selflessness, and just flip them into a marketing campaign.
Fresh Pets is here. Nutritious, fresh ingredients with no preservatives.
For every unique pet, there's a unique open farm meal made just for them.
Pets aren't just pets. They're more.
Pet food brands. They use phrases like extend the life of your pet, which sort of half imply that buying the cheaper brand will shorten it. There's also capitalizing on our own new food habits, which I'm not gonna debate today. The majority of dogs can eat grains and gluten with absolutely no problem. But if the pet owner has convinced themselves that gluten is bad for them, why would they give it to their dog? And there's even an ongoing investigation by the FDA on how grain-free food might actually be linked to cardiomyopathy in dogs. There's also a big and growing market for luxury products for pets, and it's fashion and clothing. Celebrity endorsements play a huge part in this. You can slap whatever logo you want on your t-shirt. Nobody cares. I mean, people care, but why would you have to do that to your pet? Like, tight clothes and accessories can cause skin irritation, overheating, restricted movement, or anxiety in pets, which is also a proof that we care more about these animals now. But this is also connected to a growing market for pet-specific shampoos and conditioners, wipes. Overbathing or over-grooming pets actually strips them of essential oils in their skin and fur. But perhaps worst of all, when a breed gets popular because the queen owns it, or because Paris Hilton drives it around, then it becomes a business to breed pets.
That is just horrific. They didn't ask for this treatment. They're just forced to stay in this environment and suffer and die.
So this is a puppy mill in Mississippi that was raided by the police and found its way to YouTube. Estimates say that there are about 10,000 puppy mills in the US who breed and sell up to 2 million dogs every year. And the purpose of the mills is very simple. It's profit. Female dogs are bred every time they're in heat, and they're often killed once they can no longer get pregnant. A single location can have up to 1,000 dogs who are actually just kept in wire cages. Inbreeding becomes a problem because many generations of puppies may share close ancestors. And genetics are actually a problem that predate mills. Certain dog characteristics have made up for more desirable breeds. Teacup breeds, for example, like Chihuahuas, Pomeranians, or Yorkshire Terriers, people want them for their size. Pugs or French Bulldogs are desirable because of their short snots. And the problem is that these breeds, they suffer genetically. They suffer because they were designed by humans, not by nature. Pugs specifically, these are called brachiocephalic breeds. That means that they have this like flat face. They suffer from difficulty breathing, overheating, exercise intolerance, eye problems because they protrude, skin issues because the skin folds, dental problems because their short snout means that their teeth are compressed, orthopedic problems, obesity. They're all increased when they're being inbred in a farm or a mill or wherever they came from. And the main problem is that according to Progressive Animal Welfare Society, 90% of the dogs that you would find in a pet store came from a mill. Adopting pets is better, but I'm not gonna be a hypocrite today. I'm not gonna tell you to go adopt a stray when Uma, my dog, is certainly not a stray dog. Adopting a dog is a beautiful, selfless act, and at least in the US, it would save one of the 1.5 million dogs or cats that get sacrificed in shelters every year. But I'm not here to make a point of that. I'm not here to tell you to have kids. I'm not even here to tell you to stop spending money on your dog. It's your money. You can do with it what you want. I think what's important is that you have to understand the reasons why you are doing these things. Know where your pet came from, and don't continue funding this shitty stuff. Do your damn research on what your pet actually needs, and understand how much of that is because they need it instead of because you need it for a mix of psychological reasons. Now, I don't want to close today's video on a negative note. We're learning, we're being more responsible as a society. More legislation has moved through to protect animal rights, and if we're happier humans because we have an animal, then that's by all means great news. Also, at least for now, we're not gonna run out of humans. It's not a problem at the moment. By most estimates, this is interesting, the human population will hit 10 billion people by the year 2100, but it'll stay there. Maybe 10 billion humans are enough, at least until Elon makes Mars inhabitable. Being a business channel, as we are, if you're looking to start a business in the pet industry, well, honestly, it doesn't look like a bad industry to be in right now. Thanks a lot for watching. Also, I hate cats, by the way. Bye.